Hello and welcome to ADHD reWired coaching, live and behind the scenes and unedited. This is a new experimental weekly recap, kind of like in the coach's room, kind of like in the teacher's lounge if this were a school, but it's not a school, it's coaching. But we wanted to give everyone at home, our alumnus and our current members, a current insight into what we're thinking at the end of each week. I'm here with Coach Kristin Marts, who coaches our evening section, section 3. I'm Coach Brian Entler. I facilitate or lead section 1, our morning section, and we have joining us our fabulous alumnus and future admin, Jessica Isaacson, who decided to agree at the last moment to step in and chat with us today. How's everybody doing?
This is Kristen, Coach Kristen. I am doing great. I'm super excited about our new idea and bringing a little eavesdropping or voyeurism, whatever we want to call it, as we chat about what the program is like each week. And I actually had one of my admin, I was telling them about this, and they said, wow, that would have been so awesome for me had I had that before I joined due to my social anxiety. And I was like, oh, what a great reason for this.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a
Yeah.
great idea. Just like more insight and processing about what we go through in the coaching session and just maybe convey the experience of it more than the cut and dry stuff that we have on our website. So just a window into our world. And we thought this would be like a weekly recap as we go through our 10-week program. And we are just wrapping up week 8 out of 10. And this is the support in this where we transition into longer term planning skills, monthly, quarterly, yearly planning, which is a challenging topic for a lot of ADHD folks, especially challenging besides the actual skills that we do teach a lot of practical skills and tools about how to do that, but embracing the fear of or the perfectionism that comes with, I've never scheduled a whole week or a whole month or a whole year or let alone the rest of my life before. How do I get emotionally invested in doing this when I don't necessarily trust myself to follow through based on previous experience? And I find, in addition to introducing all the practical tools, it's wrestling, getting a better relationship with that inner negative self-talk, with that inner saboteur that's trying to shut you down, that is one of the main challenges in there. So what matter what we're talking about in the session, that's what always comes up one way or another. Kristen, what do you think of?
Yeah. I was going to say, just thoughts immediately came to mind as we were, so our program is all about the showing up. And that, yes, we have handouts and yes, we have exercises and we have strategies and skills and tools. And if that's all you needed was some form of a class, we wouldn't have to do this live every season. We could sell everybody a video module, program. Um, what makes it so interesting is everybody is bringing something from their life and their experiences to the conversation. And we have two peer mentors who we call lovingly admin, like ADDmins, and they have already been through the program. And so it's always really interesting to hear their input through our sessions too, because they are sharing where they were at one point when they first entered, like where our members are at that moment, and what it's like for them now as they are, providing us some administrative help and peer tutoring and mentoring, but also kind of redoing some of these exercises and programs. And it's just so enlightening to hear. This week was starting on yearly planning. And one of the things that the three of us shared is we shared that point. Where were we and where are we now? And the thing I always offer is, y'all, I came into the program and Eric said, get your calendars out. And I said, calendar? What calendar?
Yeah.
I go, I've got this calendar thing that my office gave me to schedule clients, but I don't have I did not have a calendar even. I did not know what planning really looked like. My calendar was calling my husband, when are we going to the movies? When's the birthday party? Uh, oh, there's a post-it note on the wall. Okay, there. Oh yeah, I got to do that.
And
Appointment cards.
even
Yeah.
folks, even the folks we work with who have calendars, because I had a basic calendar system when I went through my original season in season 22, have never really used it to apply it to longer term, like a whole
Mm.
year at a time. And I find getting my coaching members to be able to like see past that reflexive knee-jerk thing of like, I can't even plan a week, let alone a year. That feels overwhelming. How do we get back into that growth mindset where we're trying to embrace something new? We have the lovely Jessica with us, who your memory is a little bit fresher of that because you were season 32, I was season 22. Jessica is actually one of my former coachees. And Jessica, can you tell me what was that like for you when we reached this
Yeah.
point in the program and we reached that transition where we're going to start looking far into the future? Do you remember what that felt like for you?
Yeah. Can I add to the question? Where were you at that point? And then add to the share with us how far you've gotten with it.
Okay, well, I was in the program when the annual planning came along. I actually love it because I love that kind of talk of, oh, what's the someday? What are your values? What do you care most about? What have you not been addressing for years that you want to think about? And that was really exciting for me. Having the materials and the structure to get it written down and divided it into domains so that it's more manageable, that was really helpful as well. But at the time, I wasn't really even doing daily planning and engaging with my daily schedule. So most of that, I filled those out as we did them in the program, and I threw them in my binder. And only much later, during some of the alumni planning, the weekly alumni planning review, there were prompts that said, get out your bucket list. And I was like, oh yeah, I have one. And I found it, and I discovered I'd already done one item. And then, I'm still struggling to incorporate that longer term stuff. So I think that one of the reasons I'm excited to be an admin is there's so much material, is the ability to go back and review the pieces that I haven't yet folded into my actual life. But now I have a weekly planning thing, and I'm planning every day, and every week I'm at least looking at all my to-dos. And so the progress I've made, I feel like it's been very slow because I'm just a slow learning person, and that's what I am now. but very steady and positive. So yeah, I think the annual planning stuff is really fun and great. And even if you're like, I do not have the scaffold to put this into my daily life, it's fine. Keep it, do it. It'll still be there for later.
Yeah, can I make an observation? Everything sounded
Mm.
fantastic, but I can make an observation. You used the word slow as in slow learner.
Mm.
I think there might be some implied judgment in there. You're moving at your own pace.
True.
The concept
Yes.
I start reinforcing from week 1 all the way through week 10 is the idea of having our own yardstick for what we can take on, which may
Mhm.
or may not look like the person next to us. It definitely may not look like a neurotypical person, but trying to use someone else's yardstick for what we can take on or how fast we think we should, quote unquote, should be moving with something,
Right.
getting a better skill, what works for us is one of the most important things that we reinforce. And it applies to the long-term planning,
Yeah.
especially to everything. So I commend you for moving at your own pace because you're still moving on it. So
It's frustrating when you're a kid and they're all like, oh, they're such a fast learner. This was
mhm.
your entire childhood, and then suddenly I'm like, okay, I might be a fast learner, but I'm not a fast changer.
Mhm.
So
Oh,
so
nice.
this you know I will say I feel slower than average, or slower than typical, or slower than I might expect or hope, but it doesn't but I've accepted that, and it's just part of my it helps my ability to stick to it, to say I know that I will get this eventually, because I have seen myself go from change a lot in the past year. I did the program about a year ago, and I've changed so much with the same, like all the same inputs from 3 months ago plus the community, and it's just eventually sinking in.
Yeah, that's what we always try to convey as we reach this point in the course, this week 7, 8, 9, 10, is that, people start, this is where people's attention starts shift. They start counting down to the end instead of up. And I point out, yeah, you can think of this as an ending, but I think of it as a beginning. It becomes that really messy period afterwards where we start picking up the pieces from the program that resonated with us and start experimenting with them and working with them. And sticking with our alumni network, that's the best place. It's the sandbox, it's the workshop where you can keep working on that stuff.
That
So I love that.
that's so interesting, Brian, that you said you see it not as an ending but a beginning. Because I'm a metaphor girl, and I see it as a chapter in my book of life. And that's just a metaphor I work off of a lot, which I think is kind of cool, because isn't that what we see in, books that we read that are novel driven? It's the idea of, the character change and the climax and all of that. I love that you tackled Jessica, you challenged her a little bit with the implied judgment. And
Oh,
the
it,
thing
it needs
I,
constant reinforcement. Even in
yeah.
myself, I do that to myself every day. If you
Hmm.
hear me doing that, call me out. Please.
The thing I wanted to bring to that point too is a reminder, Jessica, that in this program, we are feeding our members from the fire hose. I try to remind our
So,
members that
yeah.
all the time. And one of the reasons we do that is the scaffolding piece that you talked about is
Mhm.
every member is entering at a different point in their relationship with their
Yeah.
ADHD.
A lot of people
If
don't
we
have a
only
journal
did,
or
yeah, if we
just
only
the
did
habit to write in
step
one or
one,
anything.
yeah, if we
Okay,
only,
so this, you know what chapter this was, Kristen? This was the table of contents. We're just finishing up now.
oh,
So
look
the
at that.
program is the table of contents and the
Nice.
introductions to the characters, and then we launch into the rest of
Yeah, you
the
just deepened
development.
that. Yeah, you deepen that. It's like a trilogy of a
Yeah.
series of
Oh, don't,
I
you know
love
what?
this.
You cannot get me and Kristen started on analogies. We'll just go
I know.
for hours. We're going to need to be really careful of that during the program.
That's true. That's
So
true.
I have a question, Kristen. What do you think is the biggest obstacle to our coaching members changing their mindset to embracing the idea of I can do long-term planning?
Um,
Same question to Jessica.
okay, so my gut reaction is going to that idea of in the earlier weeks, we talk about our time blindness and how our time horizon and seeing the future it's really short. And so this week in particular, we begin talking about that yearly planning. And so one of the strategies we use is a lot of journaling prompts. And if you don't embrace those journaling prompts, that is going to be it's going to create an obstacle because you aren't identifying your own insights and self-awareness around what is it that shuts you down or what is it that prevents you from attempting to do yearly planning, because no matter what, we're not going to change our time blindness. We can't change our brain. And so we have to use strategies, and they feel a little out of the box, I think, for a lot of our members. They probably come in here, I know I did, thinking, okay, I'm going to learn how to plan. Well, there's more to it than just, how to put it down in your calendar and how much time you spend on it. There's a lot of steps and exercises and practices we do that build up to week 8.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
the
And I
journal
think,
prompts can feel off topic. You can be like, what does this have to do with my
yes,
this month, with this week?
that's
How
why
does this get to my this week? But it really is, you can't resist the big picture stuff because it's this folding in and it gets there eventually, but you just can't, it just isn't a little linear
and the
1, 2, 3
patience,
step.
what I
the
love about the
patience you
journaling
have to
prompt.
have.
What I love
Mhm.
about the journaling prompts is people are surprised. Like I thought we were going to talk about planning techniques like bullet journaling or like very specific methods, but we start more elemental at a emotional level with these prompts. The prompts are helping us navigate around our perfectionism. They help navigate
Mhm.
around those defense mechanisms when we are being perfectionistic. Like, oh, I'm not going to be invest emotionally in learning how to plan because I'm just not going to follow through with it like I have in the past. We
Mhm.
are artfully stepping around that by not confronting it directly, and I think that's such a smart approach, and it catches people by surprise, but like it is really what we need to do, because I think the number one obstacle is the mindset aspect, that people aren't invested emotionally, believe, oh, I can do this longer term planning, then they're never going to engage with any tools that we have in the same and fully, like it's really getting down to the core, like, yeah, we can do this.
I want to add to that too. When you said navigate around the perfectionism, we do know that not every person with ADHD, works and functions with this perfectionism piece. And it also helps us navigate into organization, because more of us who are less perfectionist, we are more disorganized. And so those journal prompts do help that piece too.
Oh, try and be
Uh,
in both. Perfectionist and
yeah.
disorganized. Yeah.
If I
Yeah.
could like pivot for just a moment, one of my favorite tools for helping people shift the mindset thing is also during week 8, we talk about the idea of themes and yearly themes, which is a really powerful tool. And I remember back in season 2, I was kind of rolling my eyes. I'm like, this sounds kind of silly. This sounds kind of new agey, but it's one of my favorite tools that I've taken away. And the way I kind of sneak this in here is I sneak in an example of one of my themes, which I've kind of been an annual theme every time since season 22 when I did it, that I now use as a credo. And I explain it to you this way. Do you mind if I read it to you and share it with you?
Yeah. Go ahead.
This is a quote, and I'm stealing this from Brene Brown, who stole it from somebody else. It's actually a Teddy Roosevelt quote, but it reads, "It is not the critic who counts, the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually or person, excuse me, who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, who at the best knows in the triumph of high achievement, who at the worst knows if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly. And then I condense that down to the theme of daring greatly. Just those two words, putting all the words of that powerful quote into my daily life and remind me to get out of my box, to get out of my comfort zone, to take risks and be comfortable with the idea that some of the risks won't work out, basically to stay in a growth mindset. And when I start with saying, oh, let's make a theme, everyone's kind of like, oh, engaging. But then after I dive into this theme that's very meaningful to me, I see people shifting and they're like,
That's
wow.
nice.
And it's really, really good. So I love the tool of setting annual themes.
So I have one last thought that's around that is when you read that, I pictured that person with the scrapes and the dirt on them from being knocked down. And that what we try to stress more than anything else, rather than consistency, is resiliency. And
Mhm.
that is where this falls into place, is it supports that idea of we don't have to be consistent to be successful.
Get back up again. Just
We
get
just got to
back
get
up
back up
again.
again, and we got to find ways to do it that with courage,
And
and
vulnerability.
insight, learning from it. Yeah, the growth that comes from it.
Resiliency requires vulnerability, and that's what Brene
Mhm.
Brown's work is all about. If we are not willing to be vulnerable, like I'm going to try this, even though there's an uncertain outcome and it may not work out, and I may be a little disappointed, but I'm going to do it again. And then if that doesn't work out, I'm going to do it again the day after that. That is the mindset that we really need to move the dial and move forward. No matter which tool or topic we're on or which week we're in, that is the key thing that I try to reinforce every single week.
I love this. This was so much fun. Jessica, thank you for jumping in at the last minute.
Sure. Yes.
This was
Straight from the
great.
gym, but it was really nice to see you both.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna run off and do the
Go
Friday
host,
and
do a
hopefully
pitch
hear some
to
wins from
Peer
folks.
Leads, one of
Yeah.
our Mighty Network events. So
All right.
that you can continue in after the program's over. So
All
yeah,
right.
go get to it. See you
Thanks,
soon.
Thanks. See you
y'all.
both soon. Bye.
Thank you,
Thanks.
everyone, for listening. See us next week or soon for our week 9. Week 9 of ADHD rewired coaching wrap up, unedited, live. Sooner or later, we'll pick a name.
Woohoo, Brian, this was so much fun.
It
I
was. Oh my
love it.
goodness.
I love it. All right. Well, then I will catch you later.
Bye.
Bye.